Hello everybody, John Chikatwell back here again with another review. It's Tuesday night and I'm back with another Flash review. So of course, if you've yet to see tonight's episode of The Flash, definitely do yourself a favor, go find and try and watch it immediately, whichever way you can, then come back because this may contain spoilers. So you've been warned. Nevertheless, I'm going to be reviewing The Flash episode 7 titled Power Outage. And it was a pretty exciting episode nevertheless, mostly due to all the various references and Harrison Wells question marks that we can point out. And we got some pretty badass teasers to the two-part crossover of The Flash and Arrow, which will be premiering next week. So if you want to know all the information on that, I'll be giving all the details in the end of my review. But nevertheless, getting right down to it, the overall episode is pretty much dedicated to two major occurrences, which is A, Harrison Wells, his obsession with Barry Allen, and hopefully making him become the Flash that he's destined to become based off his future technology, and Flash losing his powers. Yes, Barry Allen in this episode loses his abilities to use the Speed Force, unfortunately, because of this week's villain. Now, this week's villain is obviously the character of Blackout, and I think he was an interesting villain. He wasn't really that great or really a true antagonist, mostly because of his intentions. Essentially, 10 months prior to the events in this episode, back when the accelerator exploded, apparently he was exposed to it and of course became the villain he is today, and his friends ended up dying as a result to the accelerator explosion. So now he's on a full-on rager against Harrison Wells. And of course, in between that, comes across the Flash. The Flash obviously coming in to try and save the day, but of course, in his first encounter with Blackout, ends up losing his abilities to use his Speed Force. He loses his powers, and throughout the episode, it's mostly dedicated to try and figure out how to stop Blackout, and also how to stop and reinitiate Barry Allen's Flash ability, and of course, keep the future intact, because in the opening of the episode, it opens up with a monologue, of course, with Harrison Wells talking about the future. He's obviously using his future technology, and he's keeping an overall journal, digital journal, of course, keeping up his project, The Flash, of course, and he's talking about that. I've heard various speculations as to who Harrison Wells could be based off the new episodes we've been getting, and after this episode, I really think Harrison Wells is, of course, one of two characters in the DC universe and the Flash universe. He's either A, one of the Reverse Flashes, or B, he's a time traveler, kind of similar to Booster Gold, where he has the ability to obviously warp time, and obviously he's trying to keep the timeline intact. We all know that by the end of this mid-season, which is coming up pretty soon, which has been titled The Man in the Yellow Suit, that we will be getting a big review of Reverse Flash pretty soon. So my guess is that maybe this Reverse Flash, or possibly whichever Reverse Flash that we've seen, maybe it's Harrison Wells, who knows, but also has warped Harrison Wells' timeline, and of course Harrison Wells' his main dedication is of course trying to make Barry Allen become the Flash, and possibly stop Reverse Flash from warping time itself. I'll get into that later, into why I think that, based off the ending we got. Nevertheless, overall the episode was pretty badass. I did enjoy it. The effects were really great. Blackout's abilities were pretty cool and interesting. Even though I wish they could have made him more of a straight-ahead villain, it was interesting to see his design and just the way he looked overall and his abilities, which is pretty cool. Barry Allen losing his abilities, I like the overall message, but I didn't really like the fact that he lost his powers. I'm not a big fan of superheroes losing their abilities. I mean, of course it makes for good storytelling, but it's never really executed that well, so for me personally, it's really hard to get into, oh, here's the superpowers, and then, like, after a week later, he loses them because of this villain, and then, like, we have to deal with, you know, the lack of abilities that our main hero has, you know, like, it just doesn't appeal to me. I mean, like, that's kind of like if I woke up one day and I became Superman, and then, like, when the week was over, I stopped being Superman. That would really piss me off. I would be depressed. Where's the gun as I speak? But anyways, that's just my personal preference. But in But what's really interesting as to why Harrison Wells is such a big part of this is that when Barry loses his powers against Blackout, Harrison Wells obviously is trying to find out a way to cure Barry Allen's lack of abilities, and of course get him the Speed Force again, and uses his future technology as he... Anyways, he's been using the future technology that he keeps secret, obviously, to figure out a way to reinitiate Barry Allen's Speed Force and to see as to whether or not Barry Allen or the Flash is still relevant in the future, his possible timeline. And in that timeline, we get a good newspaper clipping, kind of similar to the pilot one that we got previously. If you remember in the pilot, at the end of the title sequence, we got a good clip of, obviously, Harrison Wells using his future technology to see into the future, and we saw that newspaper clipping of, obviously, the Flash vanishing and red skies, and obviously that little clippage of a side story of Wayne Tech and Queen Inc. merger complete. So that was pretty interesting. We also got that again in this episode, except we got a different clipping. We got the same one we got in the pilot, and of course a new one. The new one obviously states a completely different thing, stating of course postal service obviously incomplete, and red skies invade, and another one featuring once again Wayne Tech and Queen Inc. And the title is, of course, Wayne Tech / Queen Inc. Merger falls through. So that's pretty interesting. It kind of speculates a whole bunch of really neat things and crazy stuff for the future. I know a lot of you are probably asking yourselves right after I mentioned this, well, seeing as how they brought another Bruce Wayne, Wayne Enterprises kind of reference into the CW universe, does that mean will we get Batman into the CW universe? Unfortunately not. I think at the most they could ever do is maybe just the name and a logo, possibly, but that's pretty much it. Unfortunately, CW and people who are working with the Flash and Arrow had stated not too long ago that they do not have the ability to use Superman and Batman based off Warner Brothers' orders. Apparently, Warner Brothers wants CW to not have anything to do with Superman or Batman. Apparently, those two characters are on lockdown. It does make sense. I mean, like, they do have Batman v Superman coming up pretty soon, so... But it is kind of unfortunate. I mean, everybody knows that we all want to see Batman in the CW universe. I'm pretty sure Batman or Superman are, like, the two #1, like, comic book superheroes that we want to see presented in the CW universe. Especially these TV shows, because... let's just face it, they're the best of the best out of any comic book TV show out there. So it does make sense, but unfortunately, CW has spoken, Warner Brothers has spoken. Does that mean in the future, the way distant future, that we won't ever see anything? Probably not, but based off how good Flash and Arrow is doing, I'm pretty sure one of these days we'll definitely get some type of clear Easter egg to these characters, specifically Bruce Wayne. So, and I personally would love to see it. But anyways, that was pretty much the only reference to that. And also, it opens up a whole bunch of speculation. I want to know everybody's speculation on that. I want to see more YouTube videos on that. In the comment section below, let me know what you personally think about Harrison Wells' future. In the future, how does Oliver Queen come across Bruce Wayne? And of course, how does Queen Inc., as it's stated in the future, and of course Wayne Tech come together, and what do you think they have and works together? I really don't know. Batman and Green Arrow do have a good partnership in the comic books. They've worked together various times, so maybe in the future of the CW universe, Batman and Green Arrow could work together, so that's pretty interesting. But nevertheless, we move off of that. And we also got a good, pretty interesting subplot to the main one. Of course, bringing back one of my favorite Arrow villains is Clock King. Yes, Clock King has returned, and he's back in action. Personally, I think Clock King did great in this episode. I think he definitely had a greater presence than he did in Season 2 of Arrow. I think he served okay in Season 2, but he didn't really have a good justified moment in Arrow. I think he could have been used a little better. And of course, another sad moment is that he didn't have any moments with, Stephen Amell. Like, there's no scene of Clock King with Green Arrow in Arrow, so That's also pretty sad. But in this episode, Clock King has turned to Central City. He has been placed under arrest, and of course he has a quick little moment with Barry Allen, and that's pretty much the gist of it. Pretty much every single moment that's taken place within Harrison Wells, Team Flash, and Barry Allen trying to discover to get Barry his Speed Force again, and of course them versus Blackout. Clock King, of course, takes hostage of Central City's police officers, and specifically Iris. So it's really interesting to say the least. I really don't know whether or not it was the best move, but I think it was pretty interesting to say the least that we got to see Clock King again. I mean, like, I personally think the actor who plays him did great, and in this episode, I think he did a really great fucking awesome job. I think he was way better than he was presented in the Arrow Season 2 episode he was in. But nevertheless, we also got some returning characters like Girder. He was back. Tony Woodward came back. Unfortunately, he died within this episode, which is sad, but it was interesting to just see him again. I thought it was kind of weird how he died. It wasn't really shown how he could have died. I just don't see that happening, but it is what it is. Anyways, we also got some references to Ronnie Raymond again. We still have yet to see him presented as Firestorm. I find that really odd that we've yet to see Firestorm. I mean, like, seeing as how the mid-season finale for Flash is coming up pretty soon, I thought it would have been interesting to finally get to see Firestorm. I mean, like, either that, or at least a teaser to him possibly coming back. I mean, like, we all know he is coming back to become Firestorm, so I don't see why we couldn't have gotten some kind of teaser to him, but I guess we're going to have to wait till the end of this season to finally see him. But, anyways, moving off of that, that's pretty much it. They finally discover a way to get Barry Allen his powers back, and apparently he already had the ability to use his powers. Unfortunately, it was just a mind kind of thing, which I thought was odd. And he does eventually get his powers back. The Flash is back in fucking action. And Blackout does end up dying. Spoilers, of course, but yeah, he does die in this episode. And Hope is back again, in Central City. And it was pretty cool. I like this episode. I give it a good 8 out of 10. It was a good episode. It just wasn't the best Flash episode. I personally think that last week's episode was definitely a little superior. But I definitely like Clock King. He was great. Barry Allen losing his powers was a very interesting plot point, and Harrison Wells was really freaking interesting in this episode. It really shows how much Barry becoming the Flash means to him, and how he needs to make sure that by any cost that the future that he currently is trying to fix actually happens or whatnot. So it's really interesting. And now we get to the title sequence. Yes, the post-title sequence. Apparently, we got to see Mist again. He was a little quick reference there, but it was just a quick little overview. And while Harrison Wells is putting Blackout into his chamber, his dead body in the chamber, I guess, if you will, essentially he starts taking out DNA from his body and pretty much is trying to discover how Blackout has the ability to take Flash's powers. So now there's just a whole nother window of speculations going up. Either one of these two things is the reasoning why he wants to discover to take away Flash's powers. One, he's Reverse Flash, and when he eventually does fight Barry, which will end up happening possibly in the mid-season finale, he wants to have the ability to take away Barry's powers. Or, in the mid-season finale, when Barry does fight against Reverse Flash or Professor Zoom, whichever you want to go with, and whoever he may be, Harrison Wells uses the DNA from Blackout in order to help Barry stop Reverse Flash, and then creating the future and possible timeline that Harrison Wells wants to happen. So it's really a whole bunch of speculations going on. Every time we see Harrison Wells and like a post-credit scene with him, it just opens up a whole nother it just opens up Pandora's box all over again. It's like, god damn it, like, are they ever going to reveal who he is? It's just nerve-wracking. But overall, I loved the episode. It was great. It's not the greatest episode, but I did love the plot points. I did love the message they were trying to get out there. I also liked Iris's moments in there. Clock King was definitely way better than how he was presented on Arrow. And Harrison Wells, he's a sketchy motherfucker. I tell you this, he's just very sketchy. I'm just saying, like, he has to be one of those two things. He has to be either Reverse Flash or a time traveler just trying to fix his timeline. And I don't know. It's really, really interesting. But we all know, based off the end of this episode, that he's definitely working on a way to stop the Speed Force. So, just keep that in mind. Anyways, moving on for that, we did get a good teaser into next week's episode titled The Flash vs. Arrow, which is going to be so fucking badass. Yes, I cannot wait. Next week is the two-parter crossover episodes, starting with The Flash, obviously, and ending with Arrow. The Flash episode will be titled, once again, of course, Flash vs. Arrow, and then on Arrow, their episode crossover will be titled The Brave and the Bold. So it's going to be really badass. I can't wait to see what happens, and I cannot wait. This is something I've been waiting for, like, ever since both of these TV shows went on air, so it's going to be interesting. But, in the comment section below, let me know what you personally thought about this episode. What did you think about the Clock King's reprisal? Who do you think Harrison Wells really is, and what do you think he's gonna do with Blackout's abilities to take away Barry's Speed Force? What do you think he's gonna do that? Is he gonna use that on Barry or the eventual Reverse Flash? And of course, what do you think about the future, scenarios? Bruce Wayne, Oliver Queen. Do you think there's some type of connection there that could happen in the future? What are your personal thoughts on Batman in the CW universe? Warner Brothers has spoken, but what are your personal thoughts? And of course, let me know what your overall opinions are on Flash versus Arrow. Who's going to win? My word is, I say Flash, but I know all those Arrow fans are going to be like, no, Oliver's going to win. Come on, he has Felicity. Come on, guys. Just because he has Felicity doesn't mean he's going to win. Come on. I know she's awesome, but come on. It's just what Caitlyn said. I mean, like, Barry has superpowers. Oliver has a bow and arrow. How can you beat Flash? I'm just saying. It's going to be really interesting, to say the least. I can't wait to see it, so just let me know what you personally thought. But I love this episode. I can't wait to see more. Tomorrow, there's not going to be any Arrow episodes, so definitely go back to my channel to check out previous episodes so you can get a general gist of the overall season and how it's going to lead up to the mid-season finale, which will be premiering next week. And, of course, we still got 2 more episodes of The Flash before they go on break, so let me know what you personally thought and what do you personally think is going to happen. When will Reverse Flash reveal himself? And how is he going to do it? And where does Captain Boomerang fit into all of this? I don't fucking know, but I can't wait to see all this shit go down. Nevertheless, just let me know. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. I hope everybody has enjoyed, and I've been John 12.